I'd like to call the December 18th board meeting of the Johnson County Community College Board of Trustees to order. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call and recognition of visitors. Ms. Schliest.
This evening's visitors include Dick Carter and Mark Ferguson.
Thank you. This is the time for the open forum. It's a section of the board agenda for members of the community to provide comments to the board. There will be one open forum period during each regularly scheduled board meeting. Comments are limited to 5 minutes unless a significant number of people plan to speak. In that instance, the chair may limit a person's comments to less than 5 minutes. In order to be recognized, individuals must register at the door of each board meeting prior to the open forum agenda. There are no registered speakers at tonight's meeting, so this open forum session is hereby closed. Next item, awards and recognition. Dr. Sopcich.
Thank you, Dr. Cook. I'd like to turn this over to Mr. Anderson.
Thank you. We do have an award. I'd like to introduce Justin Stanley, Associate Professor of Speech, and his debate team. They recently, this past weekend, had their most successful tournament of the season at the University of Central Oklahoma. The team won the championship in both the novice and junior varsity divisions and brought home 5 individual speaker awards. Justin, if you'd and maybe introduce your team to us tonight as well.
Thank you all for having us. I'm Justin Stanley, the debate coach here at Johnson County Community College. We have our assistant debate coach, Dan Stout, with us tonight. And Andy mentioned one tournament that we had, but we just completed our first semester and they've released the national rankings. The debate team is currently ranked 7th in the country, and that's ahead of traditional debate powers such as Michigan, Oklahoma, Harvard, Berkeley, Emory, and Dartmouth. And so it's one of the more successful seasons that we've had. We've won the championship in 4 of the tournaments that we've attended. We've had teams in the final round of 5 tournaments that we've attended, and we've had 10 different people on our squad, 10 of the 18 debaters on our squad, participate in the final round at some point during the first semester. So introduce our debaters here that we have. I mentioned Dan Stout, our assistant coach. Next to Dan is Nathan Cunningham, Evan Domi, Eric Singleton, Parker Drake in the back. In the front row here is Josh Moncourt, Casey Owen, Doug Emerson, Mabuba Babraksai, Micah Moore, and Alexandra Dodson. So again, thank you all for having us, and we really appreciate your recognition.
Lobbyist report. Next item, Mr. Carter.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. I forwarded a memo about leadership elections toward the beginning of the month, and I'll make some comments about that here in just a moment. But I thought it might be appropriate to spread a little holiday cheer. So I'll start off my report with this brief missive. 'Twas the night of the trustee meeting, the last one of the year. If the lightning round goes short, we'll have nothing to fear. The board members in their chairs around the table were seated. Terry Schlisch read the roll, and the visitors were greeted. The campus seemed eerily quiet, the semester nearly complete. Students left for their break, while faculty met for drinks down the street. The cold has settled in, and no more tests need to be taken. Is that snoring I hear? Looks like Julie Haas needs awakened. You'll get yours. Sharp and the Ledger were already on Twitter, but if nobody reads them in the end, will it matter? Sopcich's just back with news of the bleakness. State funding's the topic at the Kansas Board of Regents. The session is nigh and just around the corner. Local reps head to Topeka, where there's sure to be disorder. Fall elections and guns and no money, the usual. If things get really bad, we'll send over Trustee Musel. The KECCT will be present and have our back. Chair Cook will make sure of it, and that's a fact, Jack. We'll get that GED funding, just you wait and see, for Carter's in the rotunda earning his fee. Now Lundgren or Lindblom or whatever his name is, and Drummond and Cross in the spirit of Virginia Krebs's, lead this noble institution we call JCCC. Founded in '69, she's now 5 plus 40. All 245 acres, it's known as the Johnson County Jewel. Now, if we could just spruce up that corner with an Olympic-sized pool. Some enchanted evenings over, so Kate, get on the stick. We could use a new baseball stadium or parking lot. Just take your pick. But hark, who's that I see at the ATB building? Why, it's John Stewart in his class. Everyone's welding. I bet you thought I forgot him. About that, you'd be wrong. Can I have your KU tickets for the next KU game they're home? Back in the Capitol, the Gov is writing his speech. To get through this session, we might all need Chong and Cheech. First the inaugural, then the state of the state. Then comes the need of a balanced budget to create. Soon committees will meet and hearings will have, ever aware of the possible legislative money grab. Don't take our authority or curb our control. Remember, the trustees were elected, and they have a goal: to keep the college moving forward and to hit the next level, taking their cues from our symbol, striving to fill that open pedal. Never forsaking our students, they always come first. I thank you for your commitment and for the reasons you serve. If sustainability is your thing, we've got Galileo's Pavilion. I just bet Dr. Annell could use another 3 to 4 million. But budgets will trim and bottom lines will maintain. Remember, the sun's shining in Kansas. You're not seeing rain. So in an effort to bring this verse to a close, I hope you've enjoyed my carefully crafted prose. Next year will be fine and the college will survive. May you enjoy happy holidays before the budget takes a dive.
If you sat down right now, this would be the best report you've ever done.
I learned from a wise man about the effect of meter. There are a couple of announcements. I won't go into the leadership elections. You know what's going on there. But there were a few appointments that were announced just last evening, and they're of importance to us because the new appropriations chair, John Reitman Jr. From here in Johnson County, I think that will be helpful to understanding some of the needs that go on in this area and on this campus. And another important appointment was Marvin Clubb, who will be moving from chairing the Commerce Committee in the House to chairing the Tax Committee, an equally important role for folks in this county. In fact, over the course of the past couple of years, the tax chairman has been serving on the Appropriations Committee, and I believe that that will continue to be the case. There's a lot of value in having the people who are setting the revenue spending and those who are also talking about the levels of the money that we're taking in. And then a couple of other quick announcements. John Barker from Abilene is a retired magistrate judge who will be chair of judiciary. That seat was vacated by Lance Danzer. And then Ron Highland from Wamego, who is a research veterinarian, will be chair of education. Now, we still have quite a few committee chairmanships to announce. I'm hoping that we'll see some more tomorrow. I've not seen any come out in the emails that we received today. And then after that, we're still awaiting the run-of-the-mill committee members, and I say that like it's something less. That's not my intent. We're still waiting for everyone else to be appointed to a committee, as well as the session calendar, which is very important for planning purposes for a whole host of reasons. And then finally, you've probably read in the media various reports about the governor's allotment memo that he sent out and raised $280 million to fill the hole in the current year. A large portion of those cuts will need to be decided by the legislature, chiefly the $95 million sweep from KDOT and the $45 million change in contributions to CAPERS. So there's still heavy lifting. That's just for the current year. We still have a giant hole for FY 2016, and I believe it's going to be even larger than the $435 million that was initially suggested. So we plan to have quite a bit of fun in Topeka this year, and we'll be doing a lot of running defense, if you will.
Session begins January 12, and any questions of Mr. Carter?
I would
Trustee
just
Drummond.
suggest that Dick Carter keeps his day job. Does very fine there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dick.
Thanks, Dick.
Have a nice holiday season. Appreciate it. We go to committee reports and recommendations. The first is collegial steering. Trustee Musil and I attended the collegial steering meeting earlier this month. We spent considerable time reviewing the mission, the vision of the college in the context of when we make decisions about the college from a teaching and learning standpoint, how are they aligned with the mission of our college and the vision of our college. We spent a little bit of time talking about the strategic plan and the importance of those 4 key goals of the strategic plan. And I believe that all of you have received previously the Inspire Learning Strategic Plan booklet. Within there are the mission, the vision, and the strategic plan, and I would encourage all trustees to review that. I believe that when we're out and about, we as trustees should be able to say that the mission of our college is to inspire learning, to transform lives, and strengthen communities, and that our vision is to have programs of excellence in education and be leaders in innovation. And I would expect that every one of our employees on this campus would have some idea of what the vision and mission are in the back of their mind as we all begin and continue to make decisions about effective teaching and learning on this campus. We also then discussed organizational structure going forward, and we are going to begin the new year with representation, equal representation from Ed Affairs, the Faculty Senate, and the Faculty Association, and just get a better understanding of how we all work together, again, driving effective teaching and learning. And with that, I will defer to Trustee Musil if you have any comments.
I think you've summarized it well.
Any questions of collegial steering? We probably will not meet in January, but we'll have our next meeting probably in February. Human Resources, Dr. Drummond.
Well, I'm happy to report, thank you, Mr. Chair, that there are no personnel issues because of the Christmas spirit we have on campus, the holiday spirit we have, and so we have no report.
Thank you very much. Learning Quality, Trustee Cross.
We have no, wait, we have a report. I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. The Learning Quality Committee meeting, we met December 1st, 2014 in this room. Clarissa Craig presented an agreement for review between the college and the Kansas Department of Commerce. This is a renewal of an existing agreement that supports the Early Childhood Education Program. This agreement has been reviewed by legal and may be moved forward for full board approval. With respect to curriculum, Beth Edmonds, Chair of the Educational Affairs Committee, shared information about the committee, which meets twice a month. There are 18 members who are elected by academic division and commit to a 3-year term. Membership includes a librarian, 1 counselor, 1 adjunct instructor, and numerous alternates. Clarissa Craig, Associate Vice President of Instruction, provides administrative support. Beth distributed handouts titled JCCC Academic Divisions, Fall 2014, which included the instructional structure as well as a list of Ed Affairs subcommittee assignments. And then Beth presented curriculum changes that were recently approved by the Ed Affairs Committee and is now requesting approval from the Board of Trustees. Course changes include the addition of new courses, course deletions, course and program modifications and deletions. Program changes include 2 new programs, Neurodiagnostic Technology and Automation Engineer Technology. A complete list of the curriculum changes can be found in the December 18th board packet. Andy Anderson gave a report on transfer and articulation projects with K-State Salina and their professional pilot agreement. Andy stated that KBOR is encouraging more program alignments between universities and community colleges. Universities have been asked to align at least 2 programs with community colleges that would include plotting out all 8 semesters so that students who take the courses in the order recommended can complete their degrees in 4 years. The K-State at Salina agreement noted above was discussed at the meeting and will be officially presented to the Learning Quality Committee for approval at the meeting on January 5th, 2015. J.D. Gregg shared with a JCCC KU task force and has been meeting to discuss dual partnership between the 2 schools. This project is still under development as communication continues with enrollment, advising, and financial aid departments. Partnership would allow students to be enrolled simultaneously at both schools. Students who sign up for the program would be able to move more seamlessly between the two schools. And we use a national clearinghouse, a student database that would give both schools faster access to students' total record and eliminate costs for students who must now provide transcripts after each semester. Increased contact with KU and JCC advisors would better benefit students so that they can understand what kind of return on investment they're going to get. And the reverse transfer capture of the AA degree completers would benefit the college. With respect to profile of Educational Technology Center, Vince Miller, director of that department, gave a presentation which included video production, shared detailed information about his department and the projects they are involved in. The ETC, located on the 3rd floor of the library building, employs 14 full-time and 12 part-time staff members, and they offer instructional technology support services for the college faculty, staff, including support for distance learning faculty and the Desire to Learn learning management system. Annually, the center provides approximately 400 project requests, 3,000 support tasks, and 100 training workshops. So apparently an institution of our size has a lot of demand for this kind of program. Vince shared a PowerPoint presentation highlighting samples of video clips, video lectures, college promotional pieces, subject area demonstration videos, and etc. And Mr. Chair, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Cross. Any questions? Trustee Lindstrom?
I think there are 2 recommendations that.
Actually, they'll come in the next month's packet.
Okay, so
yeah.
there's
nothing right now, right.
Thank you. Other questions? Thank you, Trustee Cross. Management report, Trustee Musil.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Management Committee met on December 3rd at 8 o'clock in this room. The Management Committee's report is on pages 3 through 13 of the board packet. We have 3 recommendations that require action this month. The first is to transfer some of the monies generated by our recycling efforts on campus to the foundation where they will be used for scholarships. The recommendation is for $5,000. I don't remember it. I think I asked at the committee and I can't remember how many dollars of scholarship money has been generated by the recycling program.
Since 1994, when it first got started, we're over $100,000.
So over $100,000 since the program's initial beginning in 1994. So it's a recommendation of the Management Committee that the Board of Trustees authorize a transfer of $5,000 from the Sustainability Initiatives Fund to the College Foundation for Student Scholarships, and I so move.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Second item is to update some of our signatures for the Kansas Municipal Investment Pool and a resolution to change some of the signatories on there. I first suggested if we didn't pass this that Perkins couldn't retire if we didn't change the names, but apparently that isn't the case. So I will move that it's a recommendation of the Management Committee that the board accept the recommendation of college administration to approve and adopt the resolution regarding the State of Kansas Municipal Investment Pool, and I so move.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The final item for action is the proposed 2015-2016 budget guidelines that were presented by Don Perkins and his team. They are in your packet beginning at page 6, I guess on page 6. These include our assumptions for assessed valuation change, delinquency rate, student credit hours, state aid, cost per credit hour on our tuition, which will go up by $3 a credit hour for in-state students and $8 a credit hour for out-of-state students. Capital outlay fund would continue to be funded at 0.5 mils. There are no changes in these from what you saw the last time we talked about budget guidelines for fiscal year 2016. It's the recommendation of the Management Committee that the board accept the recommendation of college administration to approve these guidelines for the fiscal year 2015-2016 budget, and I make that motion.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
One question I have, and I apologize for forgetting, on item 2, when we talk about changes to staffing the authorization table, this does not preclude appropriate reallocation of positions. Give us the 30-second commercial again about how that process works when we reallocate positions within the college.
When you reallocate positions for the college is based on strategic, I guess, emphasis. And so perhaps if there's a position where there's an opportunity to reallocate it, where it could better serve the interests of the college and the community, then we'll try to take advantage of that opportunity.
Well, I know we've done that in the past, and I think we've done that very effectively. And but I always like to think the process is relative to course offerings and student needs, and I think we've done a really nice job of that. So I just wanted to review that particular item. We've done a pretty good job, I think, as Trustee Drummond over time has challenged us to be sustainable over time. And I think we've been prudent about not adding a lot of new positions, but the reallocation process is an important one as we try to improve that student offering as needs prevail.
And if I may, Trustee Cook, actually the salary and benefits budget line, actual spend has been down in a downward descent since FY10. And so that reflects a lot of discipline on everyone who works here and making those kind of tough decisions on positions.
Thank you. Any other questions of Trustee Musil on this motion?
Yes, if I may, Mr.
Trustee
Chair.
Cross.
With respect to guideline number 7, cost per credit hour, why is it that we need to increase $3 per credit hour for our students, for our in-state students?
Let me take a shot at that, Trustee Cross.
Sure.
I think as we've looked at our 5-year plan, we have projected over time what those student tuition increases would be as we project our various revenue sources. So I think we've had a number of discussions about that, but I would defer to the chairman of the committee to talk about that.
Well, I'm sure President Sopcich and maybe Dawn can talk about it too, but what we try to do is balance revenues with expenditures. A significant source of our revenues is from students. I've been concerned, as I think your question indicates, that the percentage of our general operating budget that has been contributed by students has increased over the last 4 or 5 years.
But the decline in property valuations, that was pushed on the backs of the students, quite frankly.
And one of the things that I had requested when I came on the board was at least to give students some stability in knowing what was coming. And so what I think we've adopted as a board is a tuition increase for each of the next 5 years in our projections, not because we like to do that to the students, but at least it would be predictable, and we would also have a predictable revenue source. Our property tax valuation is becoming a little more predictable after several years of scariness in the late 2008, 9, 10 period. Our state revenue picture is questionable, and so I think the reason this has been in the guidelines for the last several cycles is that we believe this is one of the revenue sources we can hopefully predict, and if we do a better job on enrollment growth and retention, we can help stabilize our funding through that effort.
And my intention, if I may, is not to put any one of you on the spot. I think you alluded to it, Trustee Musil, and I just feel someone needs to say it. I mean, part of it is a decline in contribution from the state. So we feel the need, or the administration, this board feels the need to raise the cost for the student, as we've done so for the last several years.
I don't recall exactly when we were at 25% state support, but we have gone down to 19, to 18, to 17, and that's, you make a good point, that state proportion has, at least let's say for the last 5 years, been declining.
And I've been here for many of these discussions, Mr. Chair. I appreciate you taking the time to explain it again, but just to make a record.
Thank you.
We wanted to kind of set up a more disciplined approach to how we raise tuition and give students an opportunity to be able to plan down the road. So we looked at it 5 years down the road. You know, that's always subject to change, but it certainly is consistent at $3. And even with that, we're still probably the second lowest tuition in the metro area. And if you want to compare us nationally, it's really incredible what a deal tuition here is at Johnson County Community College compared to other community colleges across the country.
Trustee Stewart.
I think, too, we're balancing the sources of revenue, and we've looked at
about 30% of the revenue coming from student fees, tuition. And as our costs go up, you know, we have higher insurance premiums, we have higher expenses. Fees are going to, or tuition's going to go up. Hopefully our property evaluations, our assessed value goes up and offsets, and we continue to maintain that balance. But I think it's still a bargain that we offer here for the quality of services that we have, and I feel comfortable with the increases.
Other questions or comments? We have a motion and a second to approve the budget guidelines. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carries. We had one no.
I might mention, Kate, I don't see Kate out here, but obviously that makes the emphasis even greater on our efforts to raise funds privately through the foundation that provides over $1 million worth of scholarships that helps the students that Trustee Cross was speaking to, that we need to try to make sure they can afford it. Even though we're cheap, there are people that can't afford us, and a little bit of help helps. So if you're out there in the audience and you want to make a contribution to the foundation to help some students, we'd be happy to take that. We also had significant reports at the management committee on two things that are important to a campus that's almost 45 years old, and we have buildings that are over 40 years old. We had a retro commissioning report about how we heat and cool the campus and the chilled water loop and how to make that more efficient so that we can save energy, save costs, and update that through new technology. And that effort, I think, will be included in the budget process for the upcoming year. If you want to see those reports, I'd encourage you we can get those to you. The second one was Rex Hayes did a considerations for long-range capital planning, kind of looking at all of the things that you need to do on a campus that is approaching 45 years old in certain buildings. Not just the physical envelope of the buildings or the HVAC systems, but plumbing and technology and furniture and refurbishing and renovations. Part of that was initiated as a result of the efforts to do something at Yardley Hall in the Carlson Center, and the fact that some of those renovation things like upholstering seats are not something that we've been focusing on like we should have. Some of the skylights on campus aren't in a long-range plan. So I think Rex and his team are doing a great job of adding more things that we need to look at and more things that we'll need to fund going into the future. Mitch Borders presented the sole source report and a summary of the awarded bids between $25,000 and $100,000. Those are at page 7 of your packet. And then Rex also gave a monthly update on capital infrastructure projects, and that report is on page 11 of the packet. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions? Any questions? Thank you, Trustee Musil. President's recommendation for action, Treasurer's report. Trustee Lindstrom.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm pleased to present the Treasurer's report for the month ending October 31st, which can be found on pages 14 through 25. Briefly, a few highlights on page 24 at the bottom of the page. Please note the cash fund balances. As of October 31st, we had a book balance of $77.9 million, with $15.7 million in outstanding encumbrances, leaving us with an unencumbered balance of $62.2 million. Ad valorem distribution of $986,232 was received during the month, and expenditures in the primary operating fund are within budgetary limits. It is the recommendation of the college administration that the Board of Trustees approve the Treasurer's report for the month ending October 2014, subject to audit, and I would make that motion.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions of the Treasurer's report? Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Dr. Sopcich.
Thank you, Dr. Cook. We're not having a lightning round tonight because we're having a lightning meeting. And I promise to keep the pace.
So far.
A couple things, and I'd like to first talk a little bit about the budget and then a little bit about enrollment before we go into some other details here. First of all, when you look at our budget through October 31st and you look at where we are today versus where we were a year ago, our revenues are up about 0.5%, but our expenses are down 2%. I want you to keep in mind that last year we had a pretty good year. That salary and benefits line is down 1.2%. If you look at the adult sup budget, and I see Karen in the back, and I know there are a lot of different pieces to the adult sup budget, revenues are up 3%, but expenses are down 6%. And even the student activities budget, revenues are flat, but expenses are down 7%. Now, there are always timing issues involved with these budgets, but this really reflects a very serious approach to expenditures across the campus, and everybody should be commended for that, for executing. Our enrollment as of this past Monday, and when we look at ourselves versus last spring semester, we were up about 0.1%. 0.1% in head count and pretty much flat for credit hours. Now, that's excellent if you think in terms of if we can even keep it flat with slight increases this upcoming semester, it'll be excellent, especially based on some of the reports that we're hearing from other schools in the community. So we're very excited about that. In front of you, you have the monthly report to the board. This is always full of outstanding information, and I hope you take the time to read it. A few other things here. Earlier tonight, we recognized our JCCC debate team. I would just like to say a few words about our Model United Nations team. Recently, back in November, our team won 2 outstanding delegation awards for its portrayal of Nigeria at the 2014 American Model United Nations Conference in Chicago. Our team president, Marie Horvath, of Lingen, Germany, who currently lives in Lenexa. You may remember Marie. Marie introduced, actually from the seats, put herself on the agenda last week, I think the first time in history, and did a great job. You can see why she's good leading the United Nations team. Our vice president, Alicia Chow of Overland Park. And I want to read a quote by one of our students, Bimba Gantumar, who actually is from Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia, and currently lives in Overland Park. He said, "This was a great learning experience. Personally, problem solving, team building, and research skills were something that I was able to utilize." I'd like to read the names of all the participants on this team. We have Donald Roth from Prairie Village, Khrushchev Sherevov from Overland Park, Team Vice President Aaron Swift from Olathe, Natalie Cifuentes Riano of Bogota, Colombia, currently living in Overland Park, Megan Dietz from Lawrence, Kansas, Mercy Mwangi of Overland Park, Ani Mamishashvili of Overland Park, Jacob Robinette, Olathe, Susan Kimawi, Overland Park, Bear Lee, Olathe, Ahuhabe Aze, Overland Park, Ryan Leffler, Olathe, and Billy Karanha, Overland Park. This team is led by Brian Wright, who's been doing this for several years and is kind of like the Bill Self of Model UN.
Bill Snyder?
And Bill Snyder, too. I also had the opportunity to go to an academic performance with our music and theater department here called An Experiment with an Air Pump. And I have to say it was an intriguing performance. Our students were magnificent on the stage. The sets were remarkable. The play was pretty unreal. And this play is actually entered in the Kennedy Center American College Theater Festival. And it's eligible for selected students and faculty are invited to participate. And it involves scholarships, internships, grants, and awards for actors, directors, playwrights, stage managers. It's an outstanding program to be a part of and speaks very well for our drama program that we're in that. But this is what's really interesting when you read the list of scholarship recipients. Liana Klinger, she's received a scholarship from the Harvey and Beverly Bodker Fund. Paige Prowse received the Doreen Morande Scholarship. Doreen is on staff here for 16 years. Hannah White got the Vol-Star Scholarship. You all know about our Vol-Stars. Katie Force got the Redler Scholarship in stage management. And Katie works as an equity stage manager in Kansas City and nationally. And she's an alumni here, an example of an alumni who's given back. And also Rachel Nielsen. She has the Saulette Technical Theater Scholarship, and this is another alumni from our college, and she is now a touring wardrobe supervisor working with shows such as Sesame Street Live, Mamma Mia, West Side Story, and Evita. And it's great to see these successful alumni give back to these programs that gave them a start. So I think we should be very proud of that. To conclude this report and keep us on our schedule, I was so inspired by Mr. Carter that I actually put some verse together myself. I don't know if it's in the same league, but we'll give it a shot. 3 weeks before Christmas. 'Twas 3 weeks before Christmas, and all through the college, students were bustling in search of true knowledge. The campus was bracing for the end of the year, while the on-campus tuck-pointing crews seemed to be working far and near. The faculty's musings of wisdom and wit were condensed into finals that gave students fits. Administrators hustled trying to close the year in books, while inside and outside auditors gave them inquisitive looks. The cabinet wrapped things up to prove they weren't procrastinators, while the only thing the president cared about were the key performance indicators. And our trustees were scrutinizing everything that the college was about, while to themselves repeating the mantra, noses in, hands out. But now the semester is over and everyone seems all right. A blessed holiday season to you, and to all a good night. So on this, our last trustee meeting of the year, we'd like to thank you and to everyone in the campus community for an outstanding semester, and we're looking forward to 2015. Thank you.
The rhythm of the pentameter meter kind of broke down on the 11th line.
Thank you, Dr. Cook. No, we don't want to get it. We don't want to compete with Andy.
The ringer.
Is there any old business? Trustee Lindstrom.
This is not old business. It's a comment based on the president's report. I think it's worth noting, and I guess I wasn't familiar with it, the Vol-Stars, not only do they volunteer, but they also contribute to a scholarship fund?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
What
really
are the Vol-Stars?
What are the Vol-Stars?
Yeah.
The Vol-Stars are the volunteers who volunteer in the Carlson Center, in Yardley Hall and Polsky Theater, and also they do other things on campus as well. But they give of their time. It's hundreds of volunteer hours, and they make a huge difference. And they save the college a lot of expenses. As if we had to hire people like that, it would be cost prohibitive. So it's really an outstanding way that people in the community give back to the college.
That's what I thought, but it's another term we use that people don't know what it means. So they're incredibly important to this college as community volunteers.
And to all the Vol-Stars out there listening, Trustee Musil is well aware of what you do, and I know he asked that for the benefit of the listening audience, because he has been one that's been very supportive of what they do, and so we appreciate that very much. Any other questions of Dr. Sopcich on his report? Thank you, Trustee Lindstrom, for slowing me down a little bit. Now, any old business? Hearing none. Any new business? Reports from board liaisons, Faculty Association. Mr. Paulsick, you're up.
I didn't get the memo that we were supposed to go fast. I'll cut that to 2/3.
Take your time.
My daughter was helping me. She says, this is the boardroom, but she wanted me to draw something, but there's no board in here. She said that would be a funny joke. The Faculty Association into the semester celebration, I'll get this out, for the college staff, administrators, board members, faculty last Friday was a big success with a lot of folks in attendance. With the help of all the attendees at this celebration and fundraiser, we obtained at this event about $1,600. That will be counting the number of other gifts from college. This is not counting the other gifts the college trustees or administrators, staff, faculty have donated themselves. Just at this event alone that we did it for the Melissa Wells Heartbeat Foundation. So I commend you all and thank you, anybody in the community and the faculty. On behalf of the Wells family and the Faculty Association, we want to thank you. Other news, the faculty involvement on campus is high, with at least 30 faculty members involved in the 13 strategic planning task force. Plus, there's 4 other faculty members that were involved in high-profile job searches. Unfortunately, we're losing 2 faculty members, or administrators. The VP of Student Success and Engagement and the AVP, Financial Services and CFO. I will talk about them later. as well as many numerous other college-wide committees such as Ed Affairs, Student Affairs, Articulation Agreement with the Board of Regents Schools. I know I'm a member of that. We have quite a few other faculty. And that articulation for the people in the audience and listening is where we're trying to align our courses statewide to all the colleges in the state of Kansas, all public colleges in the state of Kansas. I got rid of the second page. Now we'll go to the third page. I want to take a personal time at this time to highlight, if you don't mind, two folks that are retiring. This will be my last chance to make a public appearance for them. Don Perkins, I've got to know him very well over 3 negotiations, and I want to tell you that he's a fine man, and we'll miss him greatly, and I wish you well in everything you do. And thank you for having that opportunity to get to know you. Thank you. You're welcome. The other man, Dennis Day, I've got to know him very well. I've worked with him on the calendar committee and quite a few other issues with students. He's done a fine job. I think your leadership will be missed. It's going to be hard to replace you, but I really thank you for everything and that opportunity to get to know you too as well, Dr. Day. Thank you. Finally, I would like to thank the board, the President Sobczak, for all the commitments to you that you've given to JCCC, our students, staff, and faculty. Your hard work doesn't go without notice and gratitude from all of us at JCCC and the community at large. I'm grateful to all of you. And very finally, thank you for giving me this time this semester to present to you and represent the faculty. I wish you and your families at most pleasant holiday break and a happy new year. Thank you very, very much.
Ron, thank you. Any questions of Mr. Paulsick? Trustee Musil.
Not a question, but thank you, because faculty are one of the places where right before Christmas is the most hectic time of their year. And so that has got to be something that they don't look forward to. I know trying to get ready for Christmas is hard enough when they're kind of on a steady balance. So faculty members, anybody that's teaching here and has to grade papers or exams or whatever, it's appreciated, so thank you.
Well, you're welcome.
Other trustee comments or questions? Dr. Sobczak.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you very much.
Ron, is this, so we're to understand that this is your last time you'll be presenting in this fashion?
Yes, because Deb Williams will be back from her sabbatical, and she will take over the presentations, and she'll do a fine job.
Well, I think the strength of the faculty is that they have such a deep bench, and it's evident by your involvement here and your leadership. And so on behalf of the administration, we'd like to thank you for your role and how you've handled things over the past semester. So thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been a joy working with all of you and to get to know all of you. Thank you.
Ron, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Johnson County Research Triangle, Trustee Musil.
The Research Triangle Board held a special meeting to review the final version of the audit. It is I don't know what to call it now, clean, unqualified, what's the new term?
Unmodified.
Unmodified audit. Everything's fine. Sales taxes continue to come in slightly above last year, which is good for the 3 places that benefit from the Johnson County Educational Research Triangle tax: the KU Edwards campus, the K-State Olathe campus, and the KU Cancer Center.
Any questions of Trustee Musil? Thank you very much. KACCT, Kansas Association of Community College Trustees, met in Fort Scott in December, early part of this month. Dr. Sobczak and I journeyed down for that quarterly meeting. We contributed considerable time speaking of the state's mission, and by the way, in front of you, you have a copy of the KACCT mission, vision, and also purposes. We spent considerable time talking about the guiding principles. I think they're included on the back of one of those pages as well. So those are about 7 or 8 principles that the 19 community colleges said we can agree to and support one another on. And so that was important. We had quite an extensive session on trustee leadership. And there are about 9 elements of trustee leadership that we're developing, and received very good response from the trustees that they would like to, now that we've got the bullet points listed, how we can go about implementing that in our respective colleges across the state. That also is a strategy that we'll probably present at least to the Western region and to ACCT. Daryl Shumway of Pratt Community College is on a national committee to review development of trustees, trustee ethics and integrity. and so it's a national movement as well. So we're very pleased with the response we received on the trustee leadership development component. I would entertain any questions that any of you may have regarding that. Trustee Cross.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, recently, we had a legislative breakfast that I attended along with Trustee Sharp and I believe Musel or Lindstrom? Musel. And there were several legislators there. It was very well attended. And Dr. Sopcich took some of them through the level of support that we have for KACCT and really how much we contribute, our institution, financially and in terms of time and labor toward this organization that fights for community colleges and the technical schools across the state too. Is that right?
Just community colleges.
Just the community colleges. But we provide a good chunk of financial support for that organization for all these schools, correct? Do I understand
For
that correctly?
KACCT according to the dues structure.
Yes.
Yes.
And that includes,
because our college is one of the largest, we have a higher dues structure than others.
and that includes, we believe in the accountability and goals which should be set at a local level by governing trustees, right?
All right.
Thank you for that. I just want to make sure I understood.
Well, and that's a great point, and that's purposefully there, because I think each of the community colleges want to make sure that they can make decisions that impact their local communities most effectively. That in itself becomes part of the challenge because of the 19 community colleges. We're in a broad range of 800 or 900 students to the 20,000 plus 15 that we have in non-certified programs. So that doesn't in itself become a challenge because we all have different needs. But we've agreed that decisions for community colleges, as much as possible, should be made at the local level. That's not unlike the K through 12 initiative of local control. Dr. Sopcich, do you have anything you would like to add from the president's standpoint of that meeting? Don't want to put you on the spot. I guess I will.
Well, since you've taken control of the KACCT, the meetings are certainly more faster paced and focused than they were historically. So we'd like to thank you for that. But I think the point that Trustee Cross brings up is a good one, and I think that we always need to be vigilant of the direction in which that organization is heading, and always make sure that they serve the interest of all community colleges and not just 17 or 18 and 1. That's an outlier, meaning us. So we're very careful when we participate in there to be attentive to what's going on.
Now, you did raise the technical portion of it, and there continues to be discussion, healthy discussion about support to the tech schools versus the community colleges, and will support to the tech schools come from some of the college community. Dr. Sopcich co-chairs a committee that deals with that very specific issue. And I know that historically we've always had that challenge of where the funding goes, but that's not unlike any legislative session. Trustee Stewart, did you have a comment?
No.
Okay. Anybody else? Any questions or comments? Okay, very good. The consent agenda is an item where we take care of a number of routine items in one motion. I would ask if any trustees would like to remove any item from the consent agenda. Trustee Stewart?
I'd like to remove under Human Resources B4, Employment Regular, and
Okay.
B7, Faculty Sabbatical Awards.
Okay. Any other requests to remove any item from the consent agenda? Minus those two items, B4, B7, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion and Sharp seconds. Any discussion? Any discussion? Trustee Musil.
Well, rather than pull this, but I do want to mention in her retirements, Anita Tebby is listed as retiring from her position as professor and chair of legal studies in the Academic Affairs Department. Anita has run our paralegal training program, which is important, but I think as important for the community, she has run as both in her position with the college and with the Johnson County Bar Association. She has been in charge of the naturalization ceremonies for, I don't know for how long, ever since Zori Bebehani left, which was probably 10 years. And those ceremonies, if you ever have a chance to attend one either here on campus or someplace else, I would encourage you to do so, to see people from other countries who come to America, who go through the citizenship process and who take the oath of citizenship that I suspect all of our ancestors did at one time. I want to publicly thank Anita for that, and I don't know if she's going to stay involved in that, but we will miss her if she is not.
Very good. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item B4, employment regular, trustee Stewart.
Yeah, and Tanya, you may, after I answer my question, you may say that we ought to go to executive session on that, but I'll let you determine that once you hear my question. I see we hired an AVP Financial Services CFO. And is that to replace Don Perkins?
Yes.
Although you can't really replace Don Perkins. So, I'm just curious as to
It's like Bill Snyder.
where did she come from? Was she with the college? I don't recognize the
No.
name.
No, she's been the controller at Rockhurst University for 12 years.
So she has that
Yes,
experience.
yes.
That's all I had on that. I just wanted.
I would entertain a motion to approve B4.
Second.
So moved.
So moved.
We have a
Second.
motion by Cross, a second by Musil. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item B7, trustee Stewart.
B7, faculty sabbaticals. I know under the bargaining agreement, I believe that the faculty association has the right to name a certain number each year. What is that number?
18.
They could do 18 a year.
I think that was right.
Is that 18 for a full year? I know some of these sabbaticals are for a semester.
It depends on, or is it 10?
It's
I'm
up
sorry,
to-
10, it was changed. It's
Up to
Up to.
18, but the number's been reduced to 10.
10.
Okay, so there's 10 on this one, and so it could be 10 full year, or,
It's the amount it's for a semester, if they take a full year, they get half pay. I mean, it's the amount that they would be compensated would be reduced by
okay,
half.
because I think, was it Jeff Anderson's taken a year? So he'll be compensated for,
No.
No, I
Just the
think
fall.
it's just the
Fall
fall.
semester.
It's
Oh, I
either
missed
a
that, okay.
semester at full pay or it's a year at half pay.
okay.
So it's the same dollar amount, it's just the amount of time
Okay.
that they decide that they want.
And then, this is in our consent agenda. Are we approving, do we approve these, and do we have the right to not approve these? Or with that bargaining agreement, are our hands tied that,
I'm going to defer the answer to that to Dr. Korb. We did talk a little bit about that prior to the meeting.
The agreement says, let me see here, I'm gonna find this. I just had that when I talked to Jerry about it.
It does lead to board approval. That's why
Yes,
it's on the consent agenda.
it is approval of the board. So maybe I'm not looking at the right place, but it is board approval. The faculty have a committee that go through and they evaluate the applications, and they make a recommendation or it passes the committee. But they are not approved until the board actually approves them. And I had this, so let me just find this really quick.
well, then they have the right to bring forward 10. And then
Yes, and there have been.
you don't have to approve, but most likely, because of the bargaining, our hands are kind of tied that we should approve the 10.
Well,
Is the way I understand it.
The faculty actually go through and they evaluate them, and there are times when when they have not actually approved 10. I believe there were 13 total this time, and they did approve the 10. But there have been in the past
I
where.
know there've been less than 10 in the
And
past.
they have actually approved less, but,
And are there any restrictions on how often you can take a sabbatical?
Yes.
Because I know there's some repeats here. So I've been on the board 11 years.
yes.
And I know that at least one and maybe two have, within the last 11 years, have already had a sabbatical. So there's not a limitation, or is there?
Yes, there is. And so they are eligible for a sabbatical every 7 years. And so they can reapply when it's been 6 years, they can reapply because the sabbatical will actually not be taken until the 7th year. But it is every 7 years. Okay, and yes, this sentence was right here, and I don't know why I couldn't see it. But it says a sabbatical leave may be granted for any activity which, in the judgment of the board, will contribute to personal and professional growth. So it does have to be approved by the board, and then it says it will be the responsibility of the bargaining unit member to demonstrate clearly how this meets the objectives and that kind of thing, but it does require approval of the board in order for it to be approved.
So the little paragraph write-up should be sufficient for us to make a decision whether that's...
That would be up to you, because that's, I mean, that's what we submit here, but if you want more information, there is a lot more information that go into each of those applications. And that's what's reviewed by the committee, but it is a faculty committee that reviews those and then forwards the recommendations to administration, and then administration on to the board without, but there's not, it's a faculty committee that makes those recommendations.
And then what kind of follow-up are they you know, I think in the past we used to have faculty come to the board and make a report on their sabbatical, and we have not had that for several years.
Right. And I don't know when that part of that went away. They are required to do a report that gets turned in, but I don't know when we discontinued the part about them coming to the board.
Well, I think,
okay, about 6 years ago,
we are going to start
said.
negotiations, and that may be a topic that we wish to expand upon is,
sure.
I think the board should have more feedback on what is the benefit, and also then a post-sabbatical report so that we can determine, is this something that we should continue to support? Because it is, and we have to have another faculty member in that classroom while they're on sabbatical, so it is a cost to the college, and I know it's negotiated, but, and then, this was another item, but the sabbaticals for the AMS, that's just, we approve those, and
we do. There's an AMS committee that goes through and looks at those as well, and we can, the way that it's written right now, we can approve up to 3 of those. A lot of times we don't have that many.
those are outside the bargaining agreement, so that's just.
Yes, that's just strictly, we can approve or disapprove that, whatever.
Those are the questions I have.
Trustee Sharp, and then I have a comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just had a quick question about procedure from that committee. If there's anything taken into account for the number of people within a certain department. I just was looking at this. I'm glad that you pulled it off. That there are 3 counselors, and we consistently hear concerns and issues from parents and students about the need for more counselors, and that there's always a huge long line at the counseling office. And you know, if we're pulling, you know, three people away, is that something we can afford to do? Not money wise, but time wise. And are those kinds of things taken into consideration from that committee?
They are, that is one of the considerations that goes into the application process. So it does have to be signed off on by supervisors in the area, and that's one of the criteria, that there has to be a plan, or there has to be some way that we know that we're going to be able to cover whatever that is. Now, for a counselor, it could be hiring a part-time person or hiring a full-time temporary individual to cover that, but that's considered sufficient coverage. So the supervisor of the area does have to sign off and has to agree that we can cover this, or we don't have to approve that sabbatical. So it is supposed to be taken into consideration in the application process. The committee, I'm not sure that they consider that, because once it gets to the committee, it's been through the supervisor of the area.
I will share part of the board packet that addresses this specifically, just for review and I guess for the benefit of the listening audience. Sabbatical policy allows for the awarding of up to 18 sabbatical leaves per academic year to members of the bargaining unit. Because of budget cuts, the number of leaves have been reduced to 10. 13 faculty members applied for leaves to be taken between July 1, 2015 and June 30, 2016. A faculty peer committee evaluated each application, and 10 faculty sabbatical leave proposals listed below are recommended for approval contingent upon availability of suitable replacements for the individuals involved. I would hope that that peer faculty group takes into consideration how these sabbaticals will drive the improvement of teaching and learning within a department and for the overall benefit of the college. I trust that that is the process that's being taken. It is, as Trustee Stewart has pointed out, a financial commitment and certainly worthy of review. So I appreciate you bringing that to our attention. I think that as a board, we should review that whole process to ensure that the intent of the sabbatical is for the benefit of students and for the benefit of the programs here at the college. Trustee Cross.
Yes, I just wanted to note that the history of the sabbatical in academia is a long one for more than 2 centuries now, and that a quick Google search here shows a Guardian.com article about how the University of Sydney began doing it in the 1860s, and other small startups like Harvard, Oxford, Cambridge, and other institutions of repute have done it as a means of providing exposure for the university and the realization that the development of ideas that we need to teach our students to be competitive in an ever-changing world takes time. So I think it's one of concern, and it is a cost to the college. There's not really a whole lot of argument to get around that, but I believe a necessary one, that we need to have quality faculty in order to instruct our students here.
Yeah, I don't question that at all. I disagree with that at all. I just want to make sure that those decisions are in the best interest of the college and for the students. Trustee Musil?
Well, I think this is a good discussion, John. Thanks for bringing it up, because I think when I was on learning quality, we talked about this some, because my question was, how do we follow up and figure out, and it's not intended as a gotcha to the faculty members, figure out what did you learn and how did you translate that? And did you not only translate it to your students, did you translate it to other faculty members in your department so you can learn how to teach better? And we talked about it and I was assured that there was a follow-up. I don't think we've seen it. I don't know that I want 10 people coming to the podium and telling us about their sabbatical, but before this comes up next year, it might be good to have it go through learning quality or human resources. I don't know what's the right committee, but where people can spend a little more time on it. We get a 5-line explanation, and I have no question that these are substantively done and have been reviewed, but it is, and I think I didn't realize the point that if 3 counselors, that means the department head thought they could handle that, but suitable replacements doesn't mean necessarily we have the same continuity in a department that we'd like. So those are things, and I know the faculty would work with us on those to make sure it's done right, and then to review it and figure out how we're translating that into the learning quality that Jerry talks about. So this is a good discussion. I think we ought to continue it in the right setting.
And I'll be glad to include that in learning qualities and bring that forward. That'd be a good project.
Chairman. Trustee Stewart?
I support the sabbatical process. I just want to make sure that there's sufficient oversight and that we're really choosing the right faculty members, and it's not a repeat. Okay, I can apply for another one the next 6 years or 7 years, and you're pretty sure to get it. I think there ought to be some stricter requirements on what they do. So that's my comment.
Any other comments, administrative? Any other trustee comments? We have a motion and a second on the floor to approve B7. Any other discussion?
I don't think we have a motion. I move.
So moved.
I second Mr. Cross's motion.
Okay. Did we not have a motion in a second? Yeah, I thought we did have.
Not on that one.
Yeah, we started it, but that's okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Before we go to executive session, I'd like to acknowledge Dr. Sopcich for a few words.
Tonight is Dr. Day's last board meeting. This is 30 years of hard work and attending these meetings. Dennis, we'd like to thank you for the outstanding service to the college. It's probably a countless number of students that you've helped over that period of time. So thank you very much for being a part of this community, and best of luck to you in the next chapter of your life. So, bravo.
In the short time that I've been on the board, you have always been advocating for students in need. You've always been advocating for students with challenges. You've always been advocating for the improvement of the climate for the student. And I would certainly offer you the podium if you'd like to say a few words. Thank you for your service. I thought you'd have one last chance for advocacy. Thank you very much.
And we really look forward, Dr. Day has already started on his second career as a professional golfer. He got his first paycheck just a few weeks ago. So we look forward to watching you on that tour.
We do have an executive session tonight. I would like to entertain a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing consultation with the board's bargaining representation and employer-employee negotiations to protect the public interest in negotiating a fair and equitable contract. The session will last 30 minutes. I would like to invite Joe Sopchik, Terry Schleese, Judy Korb, Barbara Larson, Becky Centelvier, Jim Lane, Susan Ryder, Andy Anderson, and Tanya Wilson. The session will begin at 6:15 and we will conclude at 6:45. I would like to entertain a motion to do so.
So moved.
Second.
Lindstrom, seconded by Musil. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We will convene at 6:15. Thank you. We have returned from executive session. No action was taken. I would ask for a motion to adjourn the December meeting.
Mr. Chairman?
Second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying
I had
aye.
a poem to adjourn, but
Meeting is adjourned.